bishops abused their power. The boy bishop would take the real bishop's robes, mitre, and ring. His followers put on their vestments backward. The boy bishop recited nonsense prayers and demanded donations. The whole event usually devolved into obscene songs and drinking in the church. The Feast of Fools might have started with a religious purpose, but it quickly spiraled out of control. With one day to unleash the resentments of an entire year, the revelers quickly grew rowdy. Boy bishops preached that their teachers should be hung from trees. They demanded donations from the community. In some places, boys donned masks so they couldn't be identified when they caused trouble. Ironically, church started the tradition as a celebration of the gospel. Ironically, even though the Catholic Church condemned the parties, they most likely started the tradition. Even though the Feast of Fools was often chaotic and sometimes violent, it originally had a very specific purpose: to play act the verse in Matthew 20:16 where Jesus said, "The last will be first, and the first will be last." For a single day during the Feast of Fools, according to scholar Max Harris, the lowest clergyman would switch places with the bishop. It was a reaffirmation of Jesus' promise that the last would be first. In many places, a boy bishop was crowned. When the boy bishop marched through town, even the real bishop bowed down. However, even though it had a loose connection to Jesus' words, the tradition could easily spiral into a riot. Medieval Christmas involved a lot of solemnity people needed to cut loose after. In the medieval period, Christmas involved a lot more fasting than it does today. Medieval Christians spent the month before Christmas fasting in observance of Advent, which was supposed to help prepare for God's coming. And they didn't just mean the birth of baby Jesus, they also meant the coming apocalypse. All in all, it was a pretty serious time. On Christmas Day, worshippers spent most of the day in church. 3 masses were said on Christmas. After all the serious fasting and rituals associated with Christmas, many medieval Christians wanted to cut loose with a massive party. Gambling was made legal for the day. All the rules were lifted. Prohibitions on gambling for money were repealed for a single day, so everyone gambled. As one scholar explains, there were no regulations on this day. People were permitted to do everything that was forbidden during the rest of the year. And people definitely took advantage. The Catholic Church banned the party for blasphemy. According to the Catholic Church, the Feast of Fools was extravagant to the point of blasphemy. It's no surprise that a celebration of disorder didn't find favor with the Church, especially when the parties often took place inside churches. But the Church had a hard time stamping out the tradition, which was incredibly popular. In 1445, the theologians at the University of Paris wrote a letter condemning the practice. They described the events in horrified terms. Priests and clerks may be seen wearing masks and monstrous visages at the hours of office. They dance in the choir dressed as women, panders, or minstrels. They sing wanton songs. They eat black puddings, while the celebrant is saying Mass. They play at dice. They run and leap through the church without a blush at their own shame. After this condemnation, the Catholic Church officially banned the Feast of Fools in the 1400s. But the parties continued for at least another century. The Church tried to ban masks entirely since people acted crazier in disguise. Even though the Feast of Fools was a wild party with no rules, people still wanted to hide their identities. After all, they were throwing dice in church and singing obscene songs. So, many medieval partiers showed up for the Feast of Fools wearing masks. The authorities knew that the masks only made people more wild, so they tried to ban masks. In 2017, Pope Innocent Roman III complained about mask shows that took place in church during Christmas season. In Lille in 1398, the church declared that masks were banned at New Year's celebrations. Another church complained in 1404 that the clergy were wearing masks in the shape of devils.
Monks and nuns were the wildest partiers of all.
Because the Feast of Fools was all about breaking rules, the wildest partiers were often the people who lived by the strictest commandments. The rest of the year, monks and nuns. As French theologian Jean Gerson ranted in 1402, the Feast of Fools was full of abominable disorders and great, detestable abuses done in the Kingdom of France, in diverse churches and abbeys of monks and nuns. And Gerson was correct that many of the festivities took place in churches. Maybe it isn't surprising that the Feast of Fools began at the same time the Catholic Church officially said all priests had to be celibate. During an era when monks, nuns, and priests were expected to live up to even higher standards, they wanted one day to break all the rules and celebrate.
People hid their identities by cross-dressing and covering themselves with animal dung.
The concept of inversion was at the core of the Feast of Fools. The people at the bottom of the social hierarchy had a single day to act like the most powerful in society. For example, students hid their identity and parroted their social betters, clergy, teachers, and rulers. Sometimes, the students rubbed mud on their faces or even animal dung or simply wore a mask. Men dressed as women and women as men to invert the traditional gender hierarchy. And everyone sang, danced, and drank.
Hey guys, thank you so much for the support and likes and comments down below, and also thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to see you in the next video. Then take care, bye.